Welcome to True Health Tuesday, and the truth will set you free. Okay, do you like the title of this? Pharmaceutical Apocalypse. Okay, so I'm working up a talk for some doctors, and it's about regenerative medicine. And I've actually got a regenerative doctor down in Mexico, and I'm saying, okay, what kind of cases? What's the average person that you get? And she gets this deer in the headlight look, and I'm going, well, what's the average patient? Because if you ask us up here at this office, I'd say, well, it's generally neurologic damage, sympathetic dominant states, bowel disorders, high blood pressure, anxiety, stress, a couple of back pain, neck pain, but that's not that important. Okay, so I was expecting that. And she said, well, it's really brain fog and pain. And I said, well, don't you get any with high blood pressure? Well, the cardiologist does that. Well, what about your patients with bowel disorders? No, the gastroenterologist does that. What about, any renal dysfunction, blood toxicities? The nephrologist does that. And I'm going, wow, that's crazy. Because you can't segment a human being and to get those different therapies. So this is what we're going to talk about. And it's literally, granted, do you want to be in charge of your own world, or are you comfortable with having a government like we have now in charge of it? Let me word it different. If you had a brilliant government, would you want to abdicate authority over your own health, or you want to take care? Yeah, boatload of Americans in here, and one Brazilian. Which the president of Brazil, dude, okay, yeah, how could you not like that guy? Okay, so now on the Dr. B VIP, all those that are supporting us, thank you, God bless you. You're going to be watching this uninterrupted. This is our first video on YouTube and Facebook in, I think, a month and a half, because we were in YouTube jail. I said something that offended the powers that be. But we're on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, everything else. But the last Thursday of every month, we do an apprenticeship program now. So we're going to teach everybody everything. We're going to literally teach people how to adjust their dogs and cats and spouse and everything else. Just little things that you can do. Like if your honey's got a headache or something, what can you do? So we're going to be teaching all of that. We just had one on brain function. Extreme Health Academy, thank you for everybody that's supporting that. If you've ever been on the forums, and I know you get 2 weeks for free if you type in Bergman 14, but just amazing group. I work almost every week on stuff for them. Now, I want to take you back, to 1905, and they called it patent medicine. And this was an expose. Now, it's kind of hard to read in it, but patent medicine is what we call prescriptions now. Patent medicines are poisoning the people throughout America today. Babies who are crying are fed laudanum under the name of syrup. Yes, that's like opium. Okay, a gullible America will spend this year some $75 million in the purchase of patent medicines. It will swallow huge quantities of alcohol and an appalling amount of opiates and narcotics in a wide assortment of varied drugs, ranging from powerful and dangerous heart depressants to insidious liver ailments, and far in excess of all the other ingredients, undiluted fraud. That was like 117 years ago. Okay, has it changed? Well, this goes on. This is the part of the article, and I want to read it to you, because if you're thinking that for every symptom you got, there's a chemical, has it always been that way? Or has it only been the last 100-something years? Okay, and so how do we get to our where you're taught, you're educated in schools that you're ask your doctor if this is right for you. Oh, God, yeah. They know everything. They know if the Prozac goes good with the diuretic, goes good with the beta blocker, goes good with the muscle relaxant. Oh, yeah. Come on. But I want to give you an idea. And here's a drug, okay? For instance, the laxative performs as they promise, but taken has thousands of people take them, and indeed the advertisements urge, they become increasingly baneful of necessity. Now, acetanilide will undoubtedly relieve a headache. Certain kinds of acetanilide, as the basis of headache powers, are prone to remove the cause of the symptoms by permanently putting a complete stop to heart action. Invariably, when taken, it steadily produces constitutional disturbances of insidious development, which regularly fatally, if the drug is not to be discontinued, and often enslaves the devotees to its use. Now, I want to tell you what acetanilide, you probably don't know it by that name. It's called acetaminophen. But let's go on to read this. Cocaine and opium stop pain, but the narcotics are not the safest drugs to put in the hands of the ignorant, particularly when their presence is concealed in cough remedies. Acetanilide was first introduced into medical practice in 1886, but it apparent unacceptable toxic effect. Unacceptable toxic effect. They had entire pages in the New York Times devoted to all the list of people that were killed by this drug. Now, after several conflicting and ensuing 50 years, it was established in 1948 that acetanilide was mostly metabolized to pyrimethamine, or acetaminophen, in the human body. Acetanilide is no longer used as a drug, although its success of its metabolite, pyrimethamine, or acetaminophen, is well known. It's one of the deadliest drugs in America still to this day. They just renamed it. So how healthy is our population? Now, I got this off of revealingfraud.com. So he looks at death a little bit different. Okay, miscarriages. Now, this is something that's going up. Okay, and these statistics are from 2019. So, we're not associating it with anything that'll get us kicked off again off of YouTube or Facebook. 1.2 million miscarriages, death by surgeons or physicians inadvertently, poor diagnostic procedure, 780,000, abortion, 600,000. Now, those in the highlighted aren't on the CDC list. What they have is heart disease, 600,000, cancer, 600,000, deaths associated with preventable harm to patients. So this is a medical error, 400,000. Sepsis and blood infections, 150 to 300,000. Respiratory, accidents, strokes, all around 130 to 40,000. So you didn't see any flus or colds in there, did you? Okay, now we've got an epidemic of non-communicable diseases, and this is what is killing 80% of our population of the planet. 80%. Now, these are diseases that you don't catch, you have to earn. Okay, 80% of the population, cardiovascular, heart disease, cancer, mental disorders. Do you know anyone with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, ADD, autism, depression, bipolar disorder, fibromyalgia, asthma, allergies, bronchitis, emphysema, sleep, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or cardiac arrhythmias? Raise your hand if you know anyone that has those. Yes, all the hands in the room do go up. Yeah, these people had to actually earn this stuff. So we're going to change from a chemically based medical system into how your body's designed. Now, kids, we have the first generation that will not outlive their parents. You're talking 54% of a chronic illness disease, mental disorders, asthma, allergies, food allergies. If you're over 50, do you remember all the people that had allergies in your class? Okay, what about the headbangers? Okay, the ones wearing the helmets. What about the ones doing medication? No, it just didn't exist. Okay, now let's go way back, 1865, Claude Bernard. Okay, French physiologist. Now, brilliant guy. So looking at vasodilation, he's looking at the nervous system and blood flow. But I love this quote here. The ideal vision of medicine, according to physiology, deals with the science of norms. But even scientifically based medical approaches should not focus solely on normal values. Why would he say normal isn't important? Because think of this. If you have a viral or bacterial or intestinal infection, do you have a fever? Maybe. Yeah. So should we lower it with a toxic chemical or understand that your body is adapting to that environment? Let's say you're dehydrated. Your blood pressure will go up. That's a fact. Okay, because your blood becomes thicker. If your stress blood pressure goes up, does that mean you need a chemical to lower it? Or does it mean you're in a stress state? So Peter Sterling, Cambridge University. In medicine, major diseases now rise in prevalence, such as hypertension and type 2 diabetes, whose causes the homeostatic model can't explain. See, homeostasis means the body's always trying to find a balance. Except when you look at this, what's high blood pressure? It's an adaptation to physical, chemical, or emotional stress. That is the body finding homeostasis. It's not trying to find a level. Now, treating these diseases to fix low-level mechanisms that are not broken turns out to not work particularly well. This guy, Jagannath Charitji, I love this, National Advisor to the Awakened Indian Movement. It's a brilliantly written article. But I took some snippets out of it just because I like the way he words stuff. We observe a world full of suffering populations. Disease has engulfed society. Chronic disease has reached a peak. People suffer not just one, but multiple illnesses. Even small children are not spared. The joy of life, once the birthright of beings, has been replaced by the pain of having to carry the burden of a misfunctioning body and mind. Is it our fate to suffer? Why are we suffering so much? What can we do to emerge from this nightmare? I mean, brilliant, because that words it correctly. We're looking, I mean, when I asked everybody if you could raise your hand, if you knew somebody that had a non-communicable diseases, and that's 80% of the deaths, the causes of death on our planet. The system of medicine, we feel, the laboratory-derived chemicals and processes that lead to good health and longevity, but can health emerge from a laboratory? The body is programmed to only process natural ingredients. Modern medicine has just become chemistry. For every problem, you're taking a medicine, a chemical, to come to some kind of balance. If you use one chemical to bring down one aspect or another to bring it up, there's also a side effect or effects for this. For this side effect, there's an antidote. For the antidote, there's another antidote. It's an endless chain. It's crazy because how did we end up with this? I mean, we haven't always had chemicals. Okay, a chemically oriented medical system. And when you get these doctors that are in health authority now, boy, I just had to bite back some really choice curse words. Okay, but when you get doctors in medical authority that have been trained by the pharmaceutical industry, and they just know pharmaceutical solutions and they're not looking at physiology, how did the chemicals become the only treatment option? Because that's pretty much it. The present system of medicine was the product of the oil baron Rockefeller, who took over the medicine to promote oil and petroleum-based products. As a result, the system was completely redesigned without any regard to impact on physical and mental health of the populations. He not only took over the medical industry, he took over the education. He started to fund schools that would do his chemically initiated medical system and gave them lots of money. So now they had research where they could look at diseases and the right chemicals to give those people with diseases. Now, holistic systems has flourished in the former system of integrated medicine. I mean, you were looking at all of these holistic centers. You had naturopaths, chiropractors, homeopaths, and medical doctors. They all have equal rating. And they had an old saying that if you went to a homeopath, you die of the disease before you die of the cure. And if you went to an allopath or a medical doctor, you die of the treatment more than you would the disease. So this was a common joke back then. Now, the entire medical system, okay, granted, when you got a guy that's going to fund and change the education system, that's going to defund any natural health system, and this is a way to change the entire structure now. And now you can also fund the government, so the government will actually force the public to take the medications. Reductionist medicine, and this is what the entire medical industry is laid out to, because remember, I got to start talking about regenerative medicine, the regenerative doctors. Okay, how do we get them to change their entire paradigm? Critics have pointed out that modern medicine medical approach is faulty. It treats the human body as an assembled machine and divides the body into units. The MDs are taught specialized medicine based on the body part approach. They only know about the body part, and they're taught about and not told about all the dimensions that result in this particular body part becoming dysfunctional. They know more and more of less and less. The serious fallacy is the body is a dynamic biologic entity complex. Interactions with diseases can only be addressed when its holistic function is studied. Gee, that sounds common sense. So we've got the old analogy of the blind man looking at the elephant. Okay, so now let's say we go to the dermatologist. You happen to have eczema and psoriasis. Now we know eczema and psoriasis has a contributing factor of low stomach acid. So does the dermatologist send you over to the gastroenterologist? No, not really, because he'll check your stomach acid and it's not a disease. So he'll give you something to raise your acid or lower it. He'll give you a chemical. He won't know that it's associated with a skin disorder. And then you go to the neurologist who's looking for autonomic dysfunction, but he's going to find out, oh my gosh, you're in a stress state. So this is one of the contributing factors for the eczema, but he's not going to look at eczema as the end result of the stress state because he's a neurologist. He doesn't talk to the gastroenterologist who's not going to talk to the dermatologist. Hey, I'm just talking about skin disorders. How about high blood pressure? Who do you go to for that? It's a completely dysfunctional system, completely dysfunctional. But who pays for the advertisement of all the TV shows? Okay, it's the pharmaceutical industry, so they have a monologue going. The Journal of the American Medical Association said about 130,000 people are dying from taking the right chemical at the right time in the right dosage. Oh, you're right. I shouldn't say chemical. It's a medicine. Okay. Journal of Law and Medical Ethics. Over the last 35 years. Now, this is going back, and you can do the math. I encourage you to read the book, The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert Kennedy. Brilliant guy. I've gotten 6 copies of it so far, and Mr. Kennedy, actually, I have a signed copy in my office. He's my hero, okay? Over 35 years, patients have suffered largely from a hidden epidemic of side effects from drugs that usually have few offsetting benefits. The pharmaceutical industry has corrupted the practice of medicine through its influence of what drugs are developed and how they are tested and how medical knowledge is created. The authorization of user fees in 1992 has turned drug companies into the FDA's prime clients, deepening the regulatory cultural capture of the agency. What this is if you're flying a plane and the plane has a defect and crashes, then the company that built the plane is going to do the investigation. So none of the other planes are going to be shut down. Oh, wait, no, that doesn't happen. No, we have the FAA. Don't worry. Air traffic's still safe. But if you have the people doing the testing on the chemicals that are going to make the profits from the testing, funding the testing, and funding the regulatory agency that's supposed to watch them. Because do you know how many drugs the FDA tested a year? Anybody? None. They're not a testing agency. The people that make the drugs test the drugs, and they don't have to give all the data to the FDA. So you could do a bunch of tests in a whole bunch of countries, and I'd recommend doing testing in countries that don't have a big media in small villages that you could buy the people off very quickly. That would be economically smart, as we're not talking about health of the people. But this is insane. Okay, you have to have an independent research, and that's what they go on to say. Unless this corruption of regulatory intent is reversed, the situation will continue to deteriorate. They're suggesting an independent FDA leadership. Now, have you heard of Anthony Fauci? Okay, he makes money off of stuff that he approves. Okay, a lot of his regulators, the people, they're getting paid by the industry they're designed to regulate. Independent FDA leadership, full public funding for FDA activities. That means that the people that want the drug approved aren't going to slide you money under the table. Measures to discourage R&D on drugs with few clinical benefits. National Drug Safety Board. Now, what does the disease do? Why would you get a common cold? Acute diseases are how the body heals itself. Wait a second. Does that mean every time you get a cold, you get a fever? What happens with a fever? For every 1 degree increase in temperature, the speed of your immune system literally doubles. Okay, viruses, funguses, bacteria die at a higher temperature. So a fever is actually the first initiate to heal your body. Okay, and when you look at the insanity, because people have been afraid of the flu for a while. No, I was told it was only 2 weeks, but I guess it's 3 years now. Okay, but you know what happens? Healthy people don't die of that. Okay, what does the Center for Disease Promotion call it? Wait, no, Center for Disease Promotion. Something, I didn't get that confused. Okay, well, they say you got to have 3.8 comorbid conditions to have had succumbed to this thing that we can't talk about. They take form of fevers, colds, cough, diarrhea, dysentery, vomiting, inflammation, skin problems. They're about elimination. This elimination is to removal of waste and toxins the body takes up. So the body is always recycling. You're designed to live here. You're not designed to have Purell up your nose. Okay, or ethylene oxide, which is in all those stupid testing strips. So you're designed to live here. Pathogens, parasites, bacteria, funguses, virus, they're your body's tools to break up toxins and eliminate waste matter. Now, again, let's just say that we're in a completely psychotic environment where no one's going to look at your physiology or your adaptability or your physical, chemical, or emotional stress. They're just going to give you a chemical to alter it. Cholesterol-lowering drugs. Yes, I know cholesterol is the most important chemical you got. I know it's 50% of the overall weight of your brain. I know it's the precursor to every hormone you make, like glucocorticosteroids, minocorticosteroids, and sex hormones. I know it's that important. Okay? Well, we're going to give you a drug to lower it. Okay? Now, we know it increases hardening of the arteries, atherosclerotic plaquing, and heart failure. Or we can give you antidepressants. We can call them selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which is a chemical that increases suicide and suicidal thoughts. Or we can give you a beta blocker, which blocks the sympathetic nerve supply to the heart. Don't say that, because I know sympathetic nerves are up here. No, we're going to give you a chemical to block that. God, there's one in every crowd. Some people just know anatomy. Okay, diuretics. Yes, the diuretics will damage your kidneys, but it will lower your blood pressure temporarily. Okay, methotrexate. Oh, that's a failed chemotherapy drug. Anti-inflammatories. This is Advil, Motrin, Aleve. I know 20% of all heart attacks come from there. But remember, we're in a chemically based system that is segmented, so the gastroenterologist isn't going to talk to the nephrologist, or isn't going to talk to the dermatologist, or isn't going to it's insane. So what happens if you take a chemical? Because then can that alter your gene expression? Yes. Epigenetic. What happens if you alter your physiology with a chemical long-term and not deal with the stress? Heart disease, cancer, mental disorders, obesity, diabetes, leukemia, bipolar disorders, schizophrenia. Oh my gosh, that's all the stuff that they're suffering from. What about, I know you've been in a stress state, how about taking a chemical to sleep? Okay, let's call it antihistamines, Benadryl or Somanex. We've got, I think we're up to 14 pharmacists as patients. And not one of them will touch this stuff. They know it damages the brain. 70% increase in delirium, 300% increase in inattentive, altered consciousness, disorganized speech. These drugs block the action of important brain chemical called acetylcholine and can cause hallucinations, among other symptoms. Antihistamines linked to Alzheimer's. Simply put, we have confirmed that anticholinergic, something as seemingly as benign, has a chemical to knock you out. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Has a medication for an inability to get a good night's sleep or for motion sickness, can worsen or a cognitive impairment, specifically long-term mild cognitive impairment, which gradual memory. So that Excedrin PM that your medication's Pez dispenser, I mean, your healthcare professional that's paid for by your insurance, and the insurance is paid for by your contributions to the government, and the government is actually funded for their campaign to do this, and they're funding for the TV programs that are also showing that, and they're also funding the education and the research. Are you following me? Okay, good. So when you're told to take the Excedrin PM or the Tylenol PM or Nitol, Somanex, I mean, I love those commercials. What was the one with the little butterfly? Okay, yeah. Okay. Brain damage. Now, what do we have? We got a 1-to-1 ratio of mental disorders in this country. 1-to-1. And the average person over 60, and I'm 62 now, Okay, it takes 12 prescriptions. I take none. And when I'm doing a physical, it's like, I don't even say, are you taking any prescriptions? I say, okay, what drugs are you taking? And, and it's unusual when I get somebody that says, I don't take any. Really? No Advil, Tylenol, Motrin, or any of that stuff? Okay, and they'll go, no. And I got it. And so I'll sit down and I'll say, why? You're being programmed all the time through television and advertisement and peer pressure and everything. Did you have good examples, like were your parents like all natural and healthy, or good bad examples, like were your parents heroin addicts or drug addicts, or they utilized Kaiser? Okay. Calcium channel blockers increase heart failure. Wait, that's a blood pressure drug increasing heart failure. Okay. Statins stimulate heart failure and hardening of the arteries. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, 20% of all heart failures. Mate, do you see a pattern here? What was that? One of the leading causes of death? Cardiovascular issues, heart issues. Okay, good. Could it be from this? I know. Don't ask those questions. Don't ask those questions. Okay. Oh, and by the way, on the non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, not only, and this is something you would take for joint pain, it destroys the building block of cartilage. So it's destroying all your joints. Well, it helps the heart pain or the joint pain, but it's also damaging the heart. Okay, let's say you have type 2 diabetes, which I know is a blood poisoning. Okay, it's not a disease. Okay, it's a stress-related, a physical, chemical, emotional stress, and I know it can be corrected in 30 to 45 days. Okay, so stop telling me that. Okay, but if you take a chemical to lower the blood glucose does go lower, but insulin remains high. So if you lower blood glucose 9%, you increase death 19%. I know there's a few Christians in here saying, no problem. I know people that have conquered that. Yeah. Okay. Reality, one had help. Okay. Proton pump inhibitors. Thank goodness Bible humor. It doesn't play real well. Proton pump inhibitors. This is an antacid that you take that increases heart damage, but it also increases esophageal cancer. Isn't that what they gave the drug for? Because they don't want acid splashing up in there? Yeah. This guy, Eric Topol. Now, this is a few years ago, but I love the way this guy writes. Now, Medscape now is like a captured industry. I mean, I'm so sick of watching it, but this is back a few years ago when they had it. Have you heard that lower salt helps your heart, right? It turns out at 3 times the American Heart Association recommendation, it's better for you if you take more salt. Isn't that something? Okay. And so you can see here the chart, that red line is where they say, but when you're taking way more salt, you have way less problems. American Heart Association isn't backing off its 1.5 grams per deciliter sodium guideline, but I think that there's a big lesson here about guidelines without adequate evidence. Guidelines without adequate evidence. They can do more harm. Hopefully this lesson will prove to be impactful because it certainly hasn't not been the case to date. As in cholesterol, blood pressure, prostate-specific antigen, mammography, and the list, very long list of poor conceived, non-anchored guidelines. You mean they're giving advice not based in science? That's true. Harvard, New England Journal of Medicine, they said, do not go to the annual physical. Why? Because you get battery of tests that's unnecessary, ineffective at preventing disease, because it's a chemically based system. Harvard, Alan Gorel, he wants to change how physicians are being paid. Normally, if you do a service, you want to get paid. That doesn't work when your service is toxic and dangerous. Okay, so he argues that changing the way doctors are paid, replacing traditional fee-for-service with a payment schedule that takes into patient outcomes. That's what we do. Okay? Here, I'm going to give you a diuretic, okay, and it's going to lower your blood pressure, but 5 years from now, it's going to damage your kidneys and you'll be on dialysis. Don't care about the patient outcome. You're just looking at, yeah, man, your chart looks great. Year 1, year 2, year 3. Oh, God, you got kidney damage now. Okay? It's insane. Okay, where if they actually have patent outcomes, instead of saying, okay, I'm not going to give you a diuretic, your blood pressure is high, but I'm looking at the pulse pressure, so your blood's not efficient. When was the last time you saw a vegetable? How much water do you drink? What's your sleep patterns like? Okay, we're going to do a whole lifestyle. Okay, does that make more sense? Yeah, and so 5-10 years from now, the guy's healthy playing tennis and not drugged out on dialysis. So we have the allopathic model that's been going for over 100 years. Chemically based solutions. Are you seeing a problem with this? Yes, it doesn't work. Human beings cannot metabolize it. I'm telling you though, if you have your legs broken, your sternum fractured, and your skull fractured, morphine, wonderful. But you're not going to take it on a regular basis. Okay, only for a trauma. You're not going to alter your physiology forever because you ain't going to be here that long. So now we have Vitalistic. It's that your body is intelligent. You're designed to live here. You're going to metabolize. You got physical, chemical, emotional stress. So we're going to look at it. You deal with those stressors directly. You have ways to measure them. You have ways to assess them. We do. Okay. And you have ways to correct them. Body has an automatic nervous system. So if you have elevations in blood pressure, it's not a defect. It's a stress state. If you have elevations in cholesterol or blood sugar, or one bowel movement a day, or one bowel movement a day if you're lucky, or poor sleep patterns, those are not defects. That is demonstrating a sympathetic dominant state. So we change the entire narrative here. These are not diseases. Inflammatory bowel, that's not a disease. It's an adaptation to chronic toxicity or deficiency. High blood pressure, what's broken on somebody? Nothing if they got high blood pressure. I've got one patient that was literally shot in both kidneys escaping from a prison camp. Not in a US prison camp. This was in the Vietnam War. There'll be a lot of people escaping from those camps, okay? High cholesterol, breast cancer, where is the source of it? Who builds the tumors in cancer? It's the body building the tumors, okay? And all this stuff, the body is adapting. Early 1900s, let's just take cancer for now, okay? You're talking 5 out of 100 people, okay? Now it's 50 out of 100. Is that an increase? Yes or yes? Okay, $100 billion a year, minimum. And you know it's a heck of a lot more than that because the co-pays and everything. The cancer, medical care is the leading cause of bankruptcy in America, or it was. Since this has been going on, since the 70s, you have a 90% increase. Okay, Run from the Cure. That's a good movie. Okay, but let's look at this. Here's 2011, immunity over inability, the spontaneous regression of cancer. So when somebody comes to me and they say, and I'm telling you every week, somebody comes in and says, Doc, I've got cancer. Okay, what type? Where is it? So it depends on the location of the body and the toxic environmental exposure that they're going to have and the stressors that they're under. So that's what we've got to look. And then I'll ask them, how do you want to handle it? Do you want to do it the natural way where we find out the physical, chemical, emotional stress? Or do you want to do it the chemical way where they're going to give you toxic chemicals in order to kill the fast-growing cells, and hopefully they kill those before they damage you? Okay, and some people will say both, some people will say one, some people will say the other. I'm good with anything because the person should be able to decide what they want. I know what you're doing. No, I've never heard a doctor say that. That's insane. Letting the patient decide their own care? Yeah, it makes sense because it's your body. Spontaneous healing of cancer is a phenomenon that has been observed for hundreds and thousands of years. Spontaneous regression, after having been the subject of many controversies, is now accepted as an indisputable fact. The word spontaneous, without any apparent cause, and regression is defined as decrease in size of tumor or extent of cancer in the body, according to the National Cancer Institute. Spontaneous regression occurs in most types of cancers and was first recorded in the medical literature as early as 1742. Have you heard this from your oncologist? The partial or complete disappearance of a malignant tumor or the absence of treatment in the presence of therapy considered inadequate to exert a significant influence on the disease. Spontaneous regression of cancer is not a rare occurrence as would thought to be. In an average month, 2002, medical journals published more than 4 articles on the subject. This is common. So when a patient comes to me with prostate cancer, just take prostate cancer. Where's the prostate? Down here. Okay. So we're looking at physical, chemical, emotional stress. Do you think the person had compromised nerve supply to the area? Yes or yes? Okay. Knowing that pesticides are estrogen based and they're multiple endocrine disruptors, which are like hormones but not hormones. Okay, and this is in glues, plastics, that new car smell. Was he exposed to that? Absolutely. Did they give him cholesterol-lowering drugs, which actually you need cholesterol in order to produce hormones? Would that be a chemical stressor? How's his sleep patterns? Pretty horrible. You're looking at a reverse curve. You're looking at crushed discs at the base of the spine there. Okay, how do you want to handle it? You know what I mean? And you can do it. You strengthen your immune system no matter what you got. Okay, you get healthy nerve supply to that area. You get prostate massages. You detox. You stop doing any kind of dairy or any type of chemicals. You get your body healthy. You look for toxins like dental toxins or liver toxins or anything. You start to heal the body. Okay, I mean, it just makes sense. Robert Atkins, there's not one but many cures for cancer available. They're all being systematically suppressed by the American Cancer Society and the National Cancer Institute and major oncology centers. They have too much of an interest in the status quo. Samuel Epstein, we're not dealing with a scientific problem, we're dealing with a political issue. And I'm just picking cancer. I could do the same thing with blood pressure, anxiety, stress, depression. We've done that for thousands of videos that some are still on. Pancreatic cancer, okay? Pancreatic cancer is almost always lethal, and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approves therapies for it. I can't even pronounce that. Produce the objective responses in less than 10% of the patients. So their best therapy is affecting less than 10% of their patient group. That means 90% aren't going to make it. Fatty acids. Turns out that if you change your diet, okay, the different fats, you have less of a chance of pancreatic cancer. So if you develop pancreatic cancer, do you think diet might have an issue? Well, here's one that says turmeric is really good, so anti-inflammatory. So when I tell patients, look, anything you do, and this is pancreatic cancer, this is prostate cancer, this is breast cancer, anything you do that helps your body's immune system and tissue production is good. Anything you do that harms the body's tissue production, detox, or elimination is bad. I know, it's just what grandma would say, right? We all had a grandma that was smart. Okay, iodine, vital. I mean, iodine is so important, but this guy has been vilified like you can't believe. I mean, just wiped out. So we're going to change this crazy belief system. We're no longer going to take chemicals to alter your physiology. It's 130 years of a failed experiment. The problem is the juggernaut is going. You've got advertisements, you've got school books that are lying, you've got a school system that's teaching these kids wrong. Okay, here we go. Chronic pain, 67-year-old female. Now, could she be taking high blood pressure with chronic pain? Probably. Could she be taking lots of drugs, Advil, Motrin, Aleve? Just 67-year-old with chronic pain. Are you happy or sad? Okay, how about you fix it? Okay, before and after. That's a physical stressor, but we all teach people how to sleep, how to eat, how to get 2 to 3 bowel movements a day. 24-year-old gal, headache. If you've ever had headaches and you're 24 and they're happening daily, I had them when I was a kid. It's miserable. It's miserable. I mean, I remember just sitting on the couch, just squeezing my head trying to get it. I've got a niece now or a friend of a granddaughter who's a friend. I call her my niece. But she's 2 years old and she's banging her head on the floor. And the parents don't know that that's bad. Okay? Because a lot of kids are doing it. Then you fix it. So health is the natural state of your body. You are designed to live here. This, and I know it sounds incredible because there's somebody in the back going, oh no, it runs in my family. Okay, yeah. Name 4 people in your history that don't have it. Okay? No. The toxic environmental and the medical therapies that you've been introduced to are common in your family. But your great-great-grandparents didn't have it. We change your perception of health. Health is not lack of symptoms. Health is sweating. Okay? Health is sore muscles and stuff. So if you're moving every joint every day, that's totally okay. Okay, keep your mind healthy. This means don't fill it with crap. So if you want to sponsor the pharmaceutical industry that is responsible for a boatload of damage and trauma, watch television. So they get money for you watching their commercials. I mean, I used to find it really fun to, this one will make you run through a field of white flowers. Of course, side effects are anal bleeding, rectal bleeding, this, it's like, God, no. Okay, build cells faster than they break down. God, that makes sense. Give your body the nutrients you need. Move your body every day. This is what we're going to do. So when you get somebody that's 60, 65, you say, cool, man, you're only halfway there. Okay, we can go play. So when I put this up, nerve supply, because that's how you live your life, okay? Exercise, nutrition, this means a man makes it, you don't eat it. Sufficient rest and prayer and meditation. It can't be that simple, but it is. So now we're getting into the dangerous part. So those that are watching on YouTube and Facebook, hopefully I'll stay out of YouTube jail and we could see each other next week, because I've been out for about 3-4 weeks because I said things about stuff that you can't talk about.